I created or discovered the organizational triangle, which are basically 3 rules. One home for everything, like with like, something in, something out. This is the basis of my first book, Unstuff Your Life. One home for everything and like with like are the 2 legs of the triangle that we use to get organized. Something in, something out is the 1 leg of the triangle we use to stay organized. So one home for everything means everything has one home, only one home. Where you keep your keys can be different from where I keep my keys, but your keys have a home, my keys have a home. They can only be one of 2 places at any given moment, either in our hands unlocking something or in their home.
Yeah, like with like my wife that and my daughters, they lose things a lot. Like I tell them, my wallet, I only put it in one spot. I will not put it anywhere else. My keys, so I never lose them.
Right,
but they don't seem to want to hear that.
Well, look, I mean, you have a primary relationship with them, so we could get into the dynamics of how dispassionately you're sharing a piece of advice with them, or if you're scolding them or cajoling them in some way to get them to change their behavior, right? Chances are, for most people, and I don't know your wife or your daughters, if they're not paying attention in the moment, if they are distracted, if they are attempting to multitask, they're not paying attention to where they're setting something down. It's not like, I'm sure they're smart enough to remember if they would establish one home, where that home is and to always put things back in it. For whatever reason, they don't. It could be because it's in opposition to you, and it could be that they don't care, right?
No,
it's hard to know about the personal dynamic.
Telling them, no, you're right. If it's me telling them, they're like, leave me alone, But
if I told them, if they met me at a workshop and I shared the organizational triangle with them, they could say, "Oh my God, that's genius, and it's so simple. We should try that at home." And you would be thinking in the back of the room, "I've been saying this for 20 years, but sure, now it sounds like it's new."
Mm-hmm. I've heard that exactly. Yeah, on certain things with myself. Yep. Yeah, that's hilarious. So, what do people come to you for? Again, is it tax receipts? Is it just I'm a mess, help me organize, or is it my business is not systematized? Like, what kind of consulting do you find yourself doing lately?
So there's a fork in the road between B2B, business to business, and B2C, business to consumer work that I do. My first book, Unstuff Your Life, when we're talking about clutter, it often is on the B2C side of the fork, right? It's typically, the business began for me with a B2B light. These were solopreneurs and entrepreneurs that were coming to me with problems. And I was working in people's homes and I was working in people's offices. And it was primarily around setting up systems, both organizing and decluttering. And as the work grew and I developed both a vocabulary and an expertise, I started to be invited into more business, like larger businesses, bigger than single person shops or, SMEs, but being invited into companies like the New York Mets or Goldman Sachs or American Express or the Metropolitan Museum of Art to help them solve larger problems that were both personnel issues around how teams are going to share space and keep track of things, as well as how we could eliminate time productivity bottlenecks and points of friction. So it was a natural evolution as my work developed. More people and businesses in different ways were drawn to, he seems to solve problems effectively, efficiently. He's able to identify these bottlenecks or these points of friction and smooth them out or eliminate them. This could be useful for us in this application.
So what do you see the biggest sources of pushback when you're trying to help an organization or a person? Where's the resistance come from?
Well, if we're thinking about organizations, it's not unlike the story that we just talked about with you and your wife and your kids, right? If it's the CEO that thinks these people that work for me have a problem, I don't have a problem, they have a problem. And there isn't a culture of innovation or easily adoptability. If there's a culture of blame or resistance and people, they're not aligned with a bigger mission than a paycheck, there's typically resistance to change because people, they just want to be able to come and go and not have to really be challenged personally or professionally.